Ovi Mahajan Jr. is a high school student in Mumbai, India. Although living a luxurious life, Ovi is not satisfied as his father has never tried to bond with him and gave all of his responsibilities to his security officer and former Indian Army personnel, Saju Rave. One day after getting frustrated with this boring life, Ovi visits a club during a late-night party where his friends try to take him to a corner for smoking. They are soon approached by a corrupt police officer on a rival drug lord Amir Asif's payroll. The corrupt police officer shoots Ovi's friend and kidnaps him. After the incident, Saju Rave visits Ovi's father, a drug lord himself in prison, to inform him about Ovi's abduction. Enraged by Amir Asif's move, Ovi Mahajan Sr. asks Saju to find Ovi at any cost and threatens to kill his son if he fails. Upon returning home, Saju tells his wife Nisa that Ovi Sr. is currently unable to pay the ransom as all of his assets are confiscated by the police. Worried about his own son's safety, Saju thinks of a plan and decides to contact a former Australian Army officer and current black market mercenary, Tyler Rake, to seek his help. Tyler's handler, Nikki Khan, visits him at his secluded house and informs him about the mission to extract Ovi from Amir Asif and his gang in Dhaka, Bangladesh. Although she warns him it won't be an easy task, as Amir has a stronghold in the city, Tyler still decides to take on the mission. Upon arriving in Dhaka, Tyler starts keeping an eye on the locals when he's also abducted by Amir's gang members, who take him to the same compound where they're keeping Ovi. Tyler has an argument with the guy after they show him Ovi, but refuses to let him leave without getting the ransom money. Although Tyler fails to negotiate with them, he suddenly attacks the guys, killing many of them and successfully getting Ovi out after an intense fight. On the other side, Amir Asif's men torture some kids, but a youngster named Farhad stands up against the cruel behavior. Impressed by his courage, Amir plans to include him in the gang, but the conversation is interrupted by a police officer, Rashid Khan, who informs him about Ovi's escape. Furious, Amir orders him to block all the bridges and roads leading outside of the city, so Tyler won't be able to take Ovi out of the sight. Meanwhile, after getting to a safe point, Tyler and Ovi make a quick stop where Tyler gives him something to eat and advises him to follow his orders if he wants to survive in his situation. After asking him to put on a bulletproof vest, Tyler also records his video to send proof as possession to Saju, so he can arrange the money he promised in exchange for Ovi's release. Nick asks him to proceed toward the extraction point near the city's exit while she keeps track of their movements. After getting a green signal from his team, Tyler takes Ovi to the river where a boat has been arranged by his team, but Nick informs them there's something wrong as Saju fails to transfer funds to their accounts. She instantly alerts her team members, but Saju has already arrived on site and begins killing them one by one. As Nick also warns Tyler not to proceed further, he asks Ovi to run away while he spots the boat being raided by the police. Tyler is told that a chopper has been sent as an alternative to the boat, but Saju follows up and starts calling Ovi while telling him that he's here to take him home. Recognizing his voice, Ovi intends to join him, but Tyler does not allow him to leave and attacks Saju with a grenade, surviving the explosion. Saju once again follows them through the woods, but Tyler continues to escape by a car, which is soon surrounded by the police. As they struggle to find a way out, Ovi tries to convince him to let him go to Saju, but Tyler does not want him to get into trouble, especially after he realizes the police might also be siding with Amir. Taking over a police car, Saju once again chases Tyler, but has to give up after getting stuck in a traffic jam. The duo enters a compound, where Tyler continues to take down the police officers while proceeding further with Ovi. Although they eventually make a way out from the roof, Saju once again intervenes in an attempt to take Ovi. Both get into another intense fight, which ends up with Tyler hitting him with a truck before fleeing from the site again. They arrive in an empty house where Ovi helps Tyler dress his wounds. After a while, Tyler gets another call from Nick, who informs him about Saju, who has been working as a security head with Ovi's father, but reveals he's the one who set them up, as he never transferred money to their accounts. Upon Tyler's question about his team's safety, she further briefs that everything went horribly wrong, and most of their team members are killed by now. Although upset with the situation, she still intends to send a chopper to get him out, but urges him to leave Ovi behind, as the deal has been called off after Saju's betrayal. Remembering his own son, whom he abandoned after being unable to see him suffer due to lymphoma, Tyler declines to do the same to Ovi. As they stay there thinking about their next move, Ovi talks to him about his father's behavior, revealing that he never paid attention to him and always treated him like a thing more than a person. Meanwhile, severely injured Saju, who is still trying to locate Ovi, calls Nesa and advises her to go somewhere safe if he does not return within the next few hours. Sensing the seriousness of the situation and fearing he might not make it out alive, Saju also talks to his son, assuring him of his love and advising him to take care of his mother. After a while, Nick calls Tyler, informing him about the chopper that's on its way to uplift them. He wakes Ovi up and plans to drive out of the city, but Amir's gang has already been waiting for them and attacks them. After taking them down, Tyler and Ovi take refuge in an underground sewage line, while the police also arrive searching for them. On her next call, Nick still tries to convince him to leave Ovi behind, but Tyler once again refuses to abandon him. After getting out, Tyler meets his old friend Gasper, currently living in Dhaka, and requests his help to let them stay for a while. Gasper reveals it's impossible to get out of the city at the moment, as every main road has been blocked by the police on Amir's orders, so he advises them to stay for a few days until everything returns to normal again. Meanwhile, Farhad visits Amir, asking him permission to let him take revenge on Tyler, who chopped off his finger in the previous fight. Tyler and Ovi have gotten close to each other, as Ovi now realizes he'll never give up before being sure of his safety. Frustrated with the events of the day, Ovi also expresses that he thinks if they would have been killed, it would have been his own fault, but Tyler thinks otherwise, considering it is his responsibility to save him. Ovi also admires him for being brave and rescuing people, while also sharing that he's never approved of his father's illegal activities. Ovi also expresses that his father kills many people, but he feels ashamed of his actions. Upon his question, Tyler also tells him the bitter truth of his life, that he also had a family, but things turned upside down after his son's death, which also made his wife leave him a long time ago. Opening up to him, Tyler confesses he could not stand seeing his son in pain, so he left for a job in Afghanistan, but now regrets his decision, thinking it was the time his son needed him the most. The same night when Gasper returns home, he and Tyler have a drink while reminiscing their former missions together, when both used to work for the Australian Army. The conversation gets intense after Gasper expresses his thoughts that Ovi can get him into trouble. He further tells Tyler that Amir Asif has announced a bounty of $10 million on Ovi. Gasper thinks the kid is not going to make it anyway, as there is no one to take care of him, so they should kill him and share $10 million. Tyler gets furious with his friend's plans and argues with him, but Gasper still tries to convince him, saying if anyone finds out they have been keeping Ovi, it will be a mess for them, so it's better to get rid of him in exchange for money as well as freedom. But Tyler disagrees. Upon his further investigation, Gasper reveals he has sought help from a friend who can help him take care of Ovi's dead body. Tyler gets angry with him for going behind his back and picks a fight with Gasper, who instantly takes a lead on him, but Ovi intervenes and shoots him to save Tyler. Although it was an instant reaction to help Tyler, Ovi goes into shock, regretting his action for taking someone's life, but Tyler calms him down. Seeing him frustrated with the entire situation, Tyler once again assures Ovi that he'll make sure to get him home safely. After finding themselves stuck in this situation with no way out, Tyler thinks of a plan. He calls Saju, and after informing him of Ovi's safety, requests his help in getting them out of there. Upon meeting him, Tyler also shows him a bag full of guns, implementing he's ready to take on anyone who comes in their way, as he wants Ovi out of this mess as soon as possible. While talking to him, Saju also informs him that Ovi's father threatened to kill his son if he does not rescue him. Learning about this, Tyler assures him that he will try his best to keep them safe, so he can rejoin his family. After making sure Saju is ready to side with them, Tyler leaves Ovi with him despite his concerns. Advising Saju to leave from the back door, Tyler takes up the position and opens fire at the police to distract them, buying Saju enough time to escape. Disguised as a local, Saju tries to sneak out of the crowd, but the car gets stuck in a traffic jam created due to the road blockage ahead, as the police are searching every vehicle to find Ovi. The duo hesitantly step out of the car in an attempt to make a way out, but the police officers spot them. Although Saju tries to ignore his orders to stop, they are forced to comply as the officer asks Ovi to remove his cap for identification. Feeling trapped for a moment, Saju is not ready to give up, so he begins shooting at the officers, while Amir Asif watches the entire encounter through his binoculars. Meanwhile, Tyler is still fighting against the police as well as the gangsters, but Nick, along with her remaining team, arrives on site to rescue him. As the police also call in a helicopter to monitor the entire situation, Saju advises Ovi to hide in a parked bus while he keeps the officers busy. During an intense firing shootout, Saju calls Tyler and asks him to follow him to the other side of the bridge, but the officers spot him and shoot him down. Seeing them trapped, Nick intervenes and shoots the chopper down, while Tyler manages to follow them to the bridge. Saju gets surrounded by police officers, but he still keeps shooting at them in an attempt to get back to Ovi. Scared of the entire situation, Ovi cannot keep hiding and gets out of the bus, trying to find another safe place where the officers cannot spot him. After a while, Saju once again takes down a few officers, but gets fatally shot in the head by Rashid Khan. Meanwhile, Nick calls her own chopper to uplift Tyler and Ovi, but once again Rashid shoots shoots at the pilot, forcing him to fly away. Tyler eventually arrives at the bridge, where Rashid aims at him, but Nick shoots him down in time to save her friend. While lying there in exhaustion due to his injuries, Tyler remembers his 6-year-old son, while Ovi rushes to comfort him. Despite Ovi's concern about his safety, Tyler advises him to run to the chopper. Although he does not want to leave him behind, Ovi unwillingly complies with his orders, as Tyler insists on him going. Although barely keeping himself conscious, Tyler provides cover for Ovi as he rejoins Nick, who takes him to the chopper. After a while, Ovi and Nick watch Tyler walking toward them, but Farhad shoots him in the neck. Making sure Ovi is safe with his team, Tyler eventually jumps into the river from the bridge, while Farhad stands there and makes sure he does not survive. Although still in disbelief, Ovi flies out of the city with Tyler's team, who has fulfilled its promise to extract him. 8 months later, Ovi has rejoined his school and returned to a normal life, but he still misses Tyler. Nick confronts Amir and shoots him down as revenge for what happened to Tyler. In the end, Ovi practices diving and holding his breath under the water, just as Tyler used to. A few minutes later, he resurfaces from the water and sees a blurred vision of a man standing across the pool, whom he believes is Tyler. If you enjoyed that recap, I got a good feeling that you'll like this one too. Click on the video on your screen for more.